Marriage Clinic TV.
Hi viewers, welcome to another edition of Marital Clinic Live. How are you today? I remain your host, Marital Issues. Thank you so much for joining me today on this edition of Marital Clinic Live. I would like to say a big thank you to all our followers, all our YouTube subscribers. Woo! I would like to celebrate you. We've been having new subscribers on our YouTube channel, and same thing with our Marital Clinic group page. We've been getting new members joining us. Thank you. I celebrate you all. Woo! It shows that our content is making impact out there. It shows that what we are teaching and with the resources we are putting out there is touching lives, is transforming minds, and is changing homes and changing families, which is what gives me the ultimate joy. I tell you, I find fulfillment and joy doing this, and I tell you, it's God that pays me, and I'm so happy about this Marital Clinic channel. I thank God for how it's changing lives, changing homes, changing families, reorientating minds. I'm so happy, and I'm glad about what God is doing with this channel. So today I would like us to look at an important topic, which I have titled "How to Know If You Are Treating the root of the problems in your marriage, or you are only treating the symptoms. How to know if you are addressing just the symptoms of the issues you are having in your marriage, or you are addressing the root of the problem. Now, I want you to understand that when you have a problem at hand, especially when it's a marital problem, or when it's a challenge that has to do with marriage, your home, how can you tell that the root of this problem is deeper or more than just the symptoms that you are seeing, and that you are reacting to and trying to address? How can you tell that there is a bigger problem behind the scene that you are not seeing than all these symptoms playing out? Now, there are different issues that people face in marriages, and I tell you, there are different stages in marriages as well. The problems or the challenges you might face at the beginning of your home marriage will not be the same problem or challenges you will face when your marriage is 10 years or approaching 20 years or even 30 years. You will have different shades of challenges or problems that you will be dealing with part-time based on the stage or the stages of your marriage or your relationship with your spouse. Now, when you have a problem on your hand, marital problem, regardless of who is experiencing this problem, whether it is you, the wife, or it is you, the husband in the marriage, that is going through this problem. Now, one of the things you need to do is to critically assess the whole problem and try to assess the root of the problem or the foundation of the problem. There must be something that is giving rise to all these issues. There must be something that is the trigger, is the trigger that is causing all these issues, to emanate or to come about. Now, when you look at the issue holistically and you realize that this issue that I'm confronted with in my marriage, each time I try to resolve it with my spouse, it's either they don't listen to me, or it leads to a bigger argument, or even if they listen, it doesn't take correction, or she doesn't take correction. I've complained and complained to the point that the complaining has turned to nagging in his ears or her ears, and with all the corrections, he's not still taking correction, he's not making any adjustment for this issue to be resolved. And maybe you've even taken out time to report the issue to your in-laws, maybe to his mom, or to your home mom, or to his dad, or to your father-in-law. You've reported, and still the issue is still there. It's not addressed. You've reported to maybe human rights. You've taken him to lawyers to sign undertaking, or to court to sign undertaking that he won't do this, he won't do that. Yet he still goes back to do it, or the problem persists. Now, when you think you have done all within your power to resolve the problem, you've done everything within, your human intelligence to resolve the problem, and you see that this problem still persists, then something should tell you that this problem is beyond just, what the words of mouth can address, or this problem is beyond what maybe family intervention or reporting to in-laws can resolve. Because there are cases whereby the wife would have reported the husband severally to in-laws, to his brothers, to his parents, yet this man refuses to change. He will still go back to do those things. Now, when you have such cases in your hand, and maybe you yourself, you've threatened, you've fought him, you've even at one time separated from him, you've removed yourself from the marriage, distance the children from him, and with all of that, he is not changing, then you need to know that the problem you have at hand is much more than what you are saying, the symptoms you are saying. You should be addressing that problem from the root. You should be trying to know the roots. Now, when I see situations like that everyone has intervened, you have done everything within your power to see that there is a change to this situation, that this man stops to do this, that this your wife, stop behaving like this, yet they don't change, then you should know that you are dealing with a bigger problem, which would likely be a spiritual problem. I know we don't like to hear this, but I tell you, life itself is spiritual, and marriage too is spiritual. Why? Because it is God that ordained marriage. So you have to see marriage too from the spiritual angle, the spiritual aspect, of life, and to be honest, not everyone is happy to see you married. Even the devil is not happy to see you married. There are some marriages that are a threat, to the devil himself, especially when those couples are like, kingdom couples, or the kind of couples we call power couples. Each of them are powerful, each of them are firebrands. So when both of them come together, the enemy is threatened. And you also know that we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. There are principalities and power, there are wicked forces out there that they don't want to see you happy. They don't even want to see you married. They don't want to see you have kids. That is the honest truth. But if not for God fighting your battles, you may not know. But behind the scene, God is always fighting for you. And that is why no matter how, some of them, run helter-skelter trying to see that things does not work for you, they realize that they are just meeting with brick walls, because before they know it, they see you at the other side. You've climbed higher again and higher, and you keep making progress. Now, that cannot happen if you are not also addressing those issues from a spiritual perspective, or a spiritual angle. Now, when you've talked and talked, when you've reported and reported, when you've fought, when you've screamed, when you've thrown your tantrums, yet this man is not listening. It's like everything you're saying is falling on deaf ear, yet this your wife is not listening. It's as if everything you are complaining about is falling on deaf ear. Why? Because the next minute or the next day, he or she goes back to do the same thing, then you should know that you have a spiritual problem on your hand. There is an influence over such a person's mind, or over such a person's life. There is an influence. There is a dark influence, over their mind, controlling their mind. They are no longer in control of their own mind. Now, when you see such people, you should know that this man is no longer in control of his own mind. Either the evil one has taken over his mind, or is under a spell, or is under some sort of bloodline issues, fundamental or foundational bloodline issues that is making him or her behave that way. Even they themselves don't even know what they are doing. They cannot tell what they are doing. It is until the consequences come that some of them tend to jack up. Usually those kind of people, it is tragedy that wakes them up. It is when a tragic situation happens that they now wake up, to reality and begin to ask themselves, how did I get here? How did this happen? But when those forces were in control of their mind, pushing them, to do what they are doing, pushing them to go sleep with another man's wife, pushing them to go sleep with another woman's husband, then they may not be thinking of the consequences, because even the dark ones, the evil one, when they want to walk, they have a way of blindfolding the mind. Yoruba will say, you will not have understanding of what you are doing. You will just realize, you are just doing this thing, especially maybe someone stuck in addiction, or someone battling with emotional extremism or dysfunctionality of one sort or the other. People that it's like they are not in control. Now, when you notice that is the situation you have on your hand, you have spoken, even your pastors have intervened, imam have intervened, prophet have intervened, your temple priest have intervened, your Catholic father has intervened, everyone has intervened, yet this man goes back to do the same thing, or this your wife goes back to do the same thing. Hey, let me tell you the truth. It is time for you to put down all those strategies of reporting, of complaining, of fighting with such a person that has not been working. It is time for you, to change your strategy, change your direction by facing God. Look away from what that person is doing. Go to God on your knees. Especially if you can wake up at the middle of the night. Go to God on your knees. Whichever posture you want to take, talk to God. Father, you instituted marriage. When I was about to go into this marriage, I went in with love. We were so in love. Everything was deep. Everything was blissful. Everything was going where we loved each other. That's why we married each other. So, Lord, at what point did the enemy set in? At what point did the enemy come to sow tares while men slept? Something must have gone wrong. And usually we do not see it with our physical eyes unless God opens your eyes, through dreams or vision or other means for you to see what is really going on. And when you pour your heart to God and tell him about the situation, and you keep on doing that, I tell you, 1 month of doing that is too much. And 1 month, and even if you don't see changes in 1 month, which I know you will be seeing changes, you will be seeing changes gradually if you are the observant type. Keep doing it for 2 months, 3 months. By the 6th month, you will notice a transformation. Why? Because God will so much step into the situation. You will not be the one to fight for yourself anymore. It will now be God fighting for you, that even you will be amazed. You'll be like, God, Father, you mean you can fight for me like this? Like, you will now be wondering, Lord, please, Olúwa ẹ jọ̀ọ́, ẹ̀rọ Ọlọ́run mi, no, mi ò ní kẹ́ ṣe tó tó, Father, please show mercy, compassion, because you will now be pitying them. Father, this one is too much. Lord, I did not ask you to kill him. Lord, please help me. Lord, I did not say you should take his joy. Lord, please, I did not ask you to afflict her health. Because by the time God eats them, God eats them with the hard knock of life, they will suddenly realize that they can no longer even stand up or to go and do those bad or wicked things they used to do that you are frowning at, or they will suddenly realize, even when they can stand up, they will suddenly realize they are gradually losing taste, for this thing. And I know a situation of a man, who has a wife at home, but is going after another lady out there, and the wife noticed. And because she's the type that she's prayerful, she went into her closet. She was like, God, what is going on? She cried to God. Did you know that it was an outsider, someone that is not even in this equation? It was an outsider who came to tell her husband that, hey, do you know that lady that you are going with, that I am seeing you with recently? Did you know that lady used to have a husband, but that she put her husband in prison? That she's so hot-tempered, that she's so mean and wicked, that she put her husband in jail, and that if you love your life, if you want to end your journey in jail, continue with her. That was what he heard, and he was like, what? That was how he fled and ran back to his wife. And the wife was like, what happened? He will now be like, you are my darling, my honey, my sweetie, money, the morning star, the sugar in my tea. So the wife was wondering, all of a sudden you just started loving me like you were loving me, when we first met. But it's because he has gone to table the matter before God in prayers. And for some of us, we may have to keep praying those prayers continuously, especially those ones that has to do with bloodline related issues, bloodline iniquity. Maybe those people that their forefathers have killed people, they've shed blood. You will notice that the lives of the children that come from such a lineage, those children will be battling with all sorts addiction. They will be battling with all sorts of things, emotional dysfunctionality. Some of them will be battling with so many things that even those children will not understand. Their men, it will be like there's a hard ceiling over their head. They are not making progress. Their women, it's like they can't even conceive children. So many bad things. So if you sit down and trace it to your roots and check the root of the matter, especially when talking is not changing the situation, then please, it's time for you to go spiritual by talking to God. Do it in prayers. It works. I'm telling you, it works, because I am a woman of prayer and I'm a product of prayer. I've seen God change situations over and over and over again from my childhood till now. And I've seen God, there's nothing God cannot do, to be honest. That scripture in the Bible that with men it is impossible, but not with God. With God all things are possible. It's not just written there for fancy. It is the reality of life, the reality of our existence. So if you believe in the power of God, because there are times that when we are confronted with so many situations, especially marital situation, it can be so depressing, and it could weigh us down so much that we will begin to see the problem as bigger than even God. We will lose sight of how big our God is, and we'll begin to focus on the problem. But when you try and take your heart, your mind off the problem, and even off the person, maybe your wife or your husband that is always on your nerves, or always getting you angry, when you take your focus away from them and put your focus on God, direct that energy that you are directing towards them, fighting with them, reporting them, that energy you are using, that time you are using to fight with them, report them, direct that energy, channel that time to God. Spend that time with God. I tell you, those yokes will be broken, will get broken gradually. Before you know it, you are experiencing ease in that marriage. You are experiencing peace. you are experiencing tranquility, you are experiencing, bliss, you are experiencing prosperity, happiness. Even your children will be at peace when you take, to the strategy of prayer. But when it's a case of, when something happens that you do not like, and you sit your spouse down and you say, baby, honey, baby, this thing, I don't like it. This thing you are doing, I don't think it's good for you or something. And you talk to them and they listen. Then that is not a spiritual problem. And they self-correct. My love, I don't like this position of intercourse. It's I prefer this position. And they take to correction. They self-correct and make adjustment. And that is a good one that you have on your hand. That the word of mouth can correct the issue. That you tell them and they take to correction. Or even when you involve your pastor or a counselor or a therapist or something, that your wife make adjustment. Your husband, he makes adjustment, then you should be thanking God that you have a spouse that their mind, they are still of a sound mind, that they are still reasoning straight, that they can still, that their moral compass is still functioning, that they can still discern between good and evil, they can take to correction, because it is not every adult that can be corrected. There are some adults that you cannot correct. Even their home father, biological father and mother cannot correct them. There are some adults that even their pastors cannot correct them. On this seat that I'm sitting on at Marriage Clinic, I've heard things where wives will even say, our pastors have intervened, they've spoken to him, yet he's not taken to correction. See, when you have such cases, you should know that that man is under an influence that's taken over his mind. He's no longer himself. He's no longer in control of his actions, and that is why he's behaving the way he's behaving. That some of them will even, abandon their children, forget their children. They abandon a lot of things, and you'll be wondering, can a normal human being abandon 5 children, abandon 4 children? So when you see those mysterious kind of thing, you should know that this is a spiritual problem. It's not the time to keep running helter skelter, talking to them, reporting them up and It is the time for you to lock yourself up, go to God, cry to God, and I tell you, the situation will change. If you can use this strategy for any issue you are currently going through right now, I'm assuring you that it will change. Try it. It will change. That situation will change. Don't give up. It will change. Stop correcting it verbally, because there are some issues, marital issues, that the word of mouth, verbal, verbal coercion or verbal corrections will not correct. It is a deep-seated, deep-rooted spiritual issue. It is an inner corruption, that is making them to behave the way they are behaving. And until you address that root, you will continue to have that issue in that marriage. But if you want peace, please go to God. Address that issue with God. Deal with the root, deal with the foundation from the root, and by the time you do that, I tell you, peace will return, love will return. See, we've seen marriages that they've fought, they've separated, they've cursed each other, they've done everything, but they came back together after the root was dealt with, after the strong man behind the marital crisis was laid to rest. Yes, God can kill people for your sake. If you know the kind of God you carry, God will slay one. He said, I will give men in exchange for you. So anyone standing on your way and they refuse to go back from your case, God knows how to lay them to rest. So I've seen cases like that where God will lay the person, afflicting the marriage, afflicting the home to rest. And once that happens, you see the yoke become broken, the marriage comes back together. I've seen a lot in this marital institution. So please, Let's take our issues to God. When you see that verbal words cannot change it, reporting, third party intervention cannot change it, even getting him to sign a legal agreement cannot, even when pastors talk, imam talk, they cannot change it. Please, it's God you should focus on, and as you do that, your life will change, your marriage will be restored, your heart will be healed, and please be forgiving. When the veil is taken away from his eyes or her eyes and they come back to you for forgiveness, find a place in your heart to forgive and ask God to help you to heal. That healing will happen gradually. You don't expect the healing to take place, just instantly or immediately. No, it will take a gradual process, and when the healing starts to take place, I tell you, the love will flow, the peace will flow, it will stream naturally. So I would like to stop here now. I hope we have learned a lot today. I will encourage us to please leave us a comment, leave us your thought, let us know your own thought about the situation, or if you have experienced such a thing before and you adopted this strategy, let us know the results you get. Please do not forget to give us a like, leave us a comment. We would like to hear from you, and share this video to others that you think would learn from it. I remain your host, Marital Issues. Till we meet again, say